body, meaning not just your relationship to the highest aspect of your life and mind, but also emotional maturation, psychological well-being, and the joy in development. So very precisely, when we say joyful effort, the joy in being virtuous, the joy in being virtuous, joy in taking virtue. The key point about it is what is virtuous, and very specifically, we say kusala in Sanskrit. It means that which is wholesome, that which is wholesome, that which would propel me toward enlightenment, that which would help me propel me and others toward enlightenment. So it has a lot to do with love and kindness, has a lot to do with compassion, and then refraining, the joy in refraining or restraining from things that would not lead me toward awakening, but lead me toward suffering, and also help others to suffer. So the joy in effort, and I guess you can sort of hear that the effort itself might be joyful, but the things that you'd be working on perhaps are not joyful. As you say, we're accumulating wisdom, and accumulating merit or virtue. So we say sonam kiso in Tibetan, accumulating merit, virtue in thought, speech, and action. Virtue itself, that Tibetan word is gewa, say gewa. Gewa, that's G-E-W-A, transliterated, and but merit is sonam, S-O-N-A-M, sonam. The accumulation, kisok, like K-Y-E-T-S-O-K, accumulation of merit and accumulation of wisdom, So that's like yeshe, say yeshe. Okay, so Y-E-S-H-E, like one of my first teachers, Lama Yeshe, Lama Wisdom Lama. And so Yeshe Kisok, we're accumulating merit and wisdom, and in this case, really focusing on both, because in order to accumulate virtue, there's a joy in being virtuous, and you have to understand the components. This is the wisdom component. You have to understand what we mean when we say we want to go for enlightenment, or we want to realize enlightenment, or have our mind realize its own enlightenment, its own awakening, and help others to do the same. And so that's the wisdom side. You can't, if you don't have the wisdom side, that's very nice, very kind, but without an understanding of reality, we call emptiness, the perfection of wisdom, is very difficult, very difficult to understand, and it can even be a very prideful sort of thing. I just like doing good things. I like feeling good. I like the way it makes me feel. Very common sentiment. But we'd like to go a little bit deeper than that, and more spiritual, as I said, spiritual maturation. So I think the best thing to do is to help us understand that before we get into tonight's class, is to actually do a meditation on the development of joyful effort. So if you can, take an upright, alert, comfortable posture. Take an upright, alert, comfortable posture, and we'll do just a little bit of practice on the development of joyful development. In Tibetan, sundru, the development of effort. All right. So settle your body at rest and at ease, taking a posture of stability, composure, and gentleness. You may be lying down, you can sit in a chair, you can even stand, but try and remain still if it's possible. We say still like a mountain. With the exception of the involuntary movement of the respiration. Don't scratch, itch, move about, remain still. Maintaining in, don't do that, just remain still. In a posture that you can remain still and not maintaining just an image. And also be at ease. Ease like a sleeping baby, but alert mentally. At ease, but alert. So please take a few slow, long, deep, purposeful breaths from below, breathing in from the abdomen, filling up like you're filling a vase, and exhaling. Pausing at the top of the inhalation and pausing at the bottom of the exhalation. Let's repeat this a few times, please. Long, deep, luxuriating breaths. Just relaxing the nervous system. And allow your breath to return to its natural rhythm. No controlling of the breath, no pranayama, please. Breathing in, breathing out, setting your mind at peace, like a vast, still ocean. While remaining alert and aware, like a vast, still ocean during the day. Simply attending to the rhythm of the breath. Remaining quietly, attending quietly, non-discursively, non-judgmentally. And be aware that consciousness has two salient features. And one is called cognizance, which is knowingness. Knowingness that there is a detachment from reactivity. That there is breathing in and there is breathing out. Cognizance. Your mind's ability to know. To gain insight into what is actually taking place beneath the thinking mind, beneath the projections, and the ever-present illusion of thoughts and emotions. This observing mode, this witnessing mode that knows what is being observed and witnessed. Just watching this changing display on the screen of the mind without trying to change channels, without changing the images on the screen, just witnessing the ever-changing images, the stories and the dramas of the mind. And there's a joy in this effort. Turn your lips up slightly, please. And just watching and observing without reacting. It's the beginning of joyful effort in meditation. Just watching. The joy in dispassion. Dispassionate observation. Non-reactivity. Consciousness has another feature, however, not just the knowingness, not just the cognizance, but luminosity, which is learning not just how to watch, but how to intentionally change the channel, the creativity, if you will, of awareness. versus just having whatever random channel comes on, like someone else is controlling the remote control. In this case, there's an intentional wholesomeness here, a joy in this effort to change the channel to the channel we want, knowing that there is nothing separate from mind, so it's very important what channel you're on. There's nothing separate from mind, so it's very important what channel you're on, and to know that you have the capacity to change the channel, the luminous expression of the mind. You can put on the happiness channel. So let's make effective use now. Let's improve upon the creative potential, or luminous capacity, if you will, of your own awareness, your own mind. Gently extract now from the depths of the substrata, from the subpsyche, from the potential of your imagination. I invite you to visualize your future, to bring to mind as vividly and as powerfully as you can a plan for yourself, where you can see your own ideal, your own flourishing. And what would bring lasting fulfillment? Key words being lasting fulfillment. Genuine happiness. The greatest meaning, your path and purpose. So far from material objectives or food objectives, what would bring lasting happiness? Bring to mind as vividly and as powerfully as you could a plan for yourself, where you could see your own ideal, your own flourishing. And it may be hard work to get there, but that's the joy and the effort, but it would be worth it. There's the effort and the joy. It would require great effort to live a fulfilling life, path and purpose. But it would be worth it. Not just at the end, but in the process. Imagine that your greatest satisfaction, what would it be as a spiritual practitioner? Abraham Maslow, in his pyramid of needs, he said the highest need of spiritual development, self-actualization. Perhaps it's something different for you, but that's an idea, maybe enlightenment, realization. And the ability to have that enlightenment to be of assistance to others. That you would know what to do and what to say, how to bring people along out of their suffering, out of their misery, just as you would for yourself. Imagine. The most heartfelt expression and its fulfillment. What does it look like? But then there's the question of effort, how to get there, how to arrive at this place. Exhale, please, deeply, breathe deeply, inhale. Arouse this wish, this longing to cross the gulf right now between that place that you aspire to and where you are now in your life. Breathe in deeply. Bring your hands together, please, in the form of a prayer. And arouse this wish, this longing to cross the gulf between your aspirations, once and for all. The distance between how you live in every moment, day to day, so that you may achieve your highest realizations of love, of satisfaction, of compassion, for peace. Say your own name, please. May I indeed realize such fulfillment, such completion, such wholeness. Breathe in deeply and arouse this part of loving kindness for yourself, your deepest, most heartfelt wish for your own well-being. May it indeed be realized. And with every exhalation, exhale, breathe out, and breathe out loving kindness. And imagine that it touches every living being, all of your loved ones and your friends, without exception or preference, beyond that, neutral people, people you have difficulty with. Not just in your immediate area or surroundings, but your whole country. May everyone in the United States be free of suffering. May everyone in Europe and Africa and Australia, New Zealand, Asia, everyone, the entire world. May all achieve their highest happiness. May no being suffer. And even try and feel that right now. Just imagine what that would be like. And you played an instrumental role. The way your mind is, how you've transformed, and the effort it took, the effort required. That your highest ideals really ignited, and you just lived a life according to nothing but path and purpose, with every thought, speech, and action. And may this inspiration flow from your imagination into a living reality. But because it's not so simple as just imagining things, we all wish it were. In order to feel and really experience your most heartfelt desire, it's quite clear. So let's continue meditating. It's quite clear that you cannot do this on your own. None of us can. We don't exist independently, let alone pursue our desires independently. In order to realize your highest desire, your heart's desire, the most meaningful of all desires, I ask you to imagine what you would most love to receive from this world, from the world around you, from the natural environment, from other people, from teachers, from friends. Visualize what you need to fulfill your highest desire of path and purpose. What would you like to receive? More love, more understanding, more compassion, more listening, more teaching, more time, less busyness, less demands, more empathy. Whatever it may be for you, patience. What would you love to receive? Simplicity. Now inhale, please. Inhale deeply, and exhale. And on this next inhalation, say with me, may I receive all that I truly need, from moment to moment, from day to day, from year to year, from lifetime to lifetime. May I receive all that I truly need from the world around me, from the world around me, to realize my own highest ideals. With each in-breath, arouse this yearning more and more. May I receive, may I receive, may I receive all that I truly need. And with each in-breath, now imagine breathing in the kindness of all the sentient beings, breathing in the blessings of all the enlightened ones, regardless of tradition. And receiving, imagine receiving all that you asked for, all that you truly need, from moment to moment. What that would be like. Receiving all that you truly need to realize your most heartfelt desire, your wish for awakening, and to be of genuine, true assistance to others. Now, unfortunately, for better or for worse, I should say, in order to realize the fulfillment that you seek so clearly. It is not just enough to receive the assistance of those around you. There also must be an inner transformation. So how would you love to transform now? There has to be some inner transformation. How would you love to evolve and to mature? So that you may realize your ultimate fulfillment. What quality, and not just receive, but what qualities do you have right now that are impeding your desires from actually being fulfilled? Qualities of mind that are impeding your innermost desires, your path and purpose from actually taking place. What qualities would you love to have instead? What would you love to be imbued with that would propel you towards your ultimate fulfillment? How would you love to transform as a human being? So again, not just to receive, but how would you love to transform now? Imagine. And with each exhalation, arouse the yearning. May I transform. May I mature in this way in the spirit of loving kindness. May I sow the seeds for my own well-being. And with each exhalation, breathe out this loving kindness into your life, inspiring you and empowering you to transform in the ways that you would love to transform. Let your imagination really come into play with each inhalation and exhalation. Truly becoming right now the person that you would love to be, not waiting another minute. Imagining it, that it's sitting right here, right now. That transformation. And then let your imagination more fully come into play. With each exhalation, the end of the road that you have matured completely, what that would be like. To have totally transformed. And finally, for the sake of others' fulfillment, in order to realize the greatest possible life, please bring to mind what you would most love to offer to the world. Not just to receive, not to just to transform, but what would you most love to offer to the world? In your own life, bring to mind what you would most love to offer. To the world, to your close family members, your close friends, your immediate environment. What would you most love to offer? To those who are more distant in the short term and in the long term. What would you as an individual, as part of your fulfillment, your highest desires, what would you most love to offer to this world? To such a degree that if you were to find yourself on your deathbed and you were to look back and have that unique vantage point of your own life, that is something that is now almost complete, that you could look back with contentment and satisfaction, knowing that this was in fact a life that was well lived, and that it is okay now. It is quite okay for this life to be over. What would you have most loved to have offered to this world? And with each exhalation, arouse the yearning. Put your hands together one more time, please. May I offer this. May it be so. Arouse the spirit of love and kindness for yourself and for all those around you. Exhaling, breathing out love and kindness for the world as your offering. And using your own imagination to empower you. And imagine making such an offering here and now with every breath. Imagine it to be true. The expressions of your love and your compassion, your empathy. And then release all desires, all imaginings, all hopes and aspirations. Release all appearances and objects of the mind. And simply allow awareness to rest in its own place. Knowing, cognizant, holding its own ground, still and open. Awareness resting. All right. So please take a minute. A little fidget break, please. And then please come back in just a minute with pen and paper. Thank you. Okay, so welcome back. So we've completed the meditation portion, and then we'll do some teaching and explanation. So in the meditation, if you'd like to recreate it at home, we talked about the creation of joyful effort using love and kindness as a means to accomplish that. And we talked about as part of a daily, potentially part of your daily meditation practice this week, that you would think about your highest aspirations, path, and purpose. And I think those three elements in there, taking a moment to realize that the spiritual journey, despite what some people think or what they may wish for, it's not easy. It requires total transformation and commitment. Total transformation and commitment, and you will fall off the wagon, if you will, many times. And there has to be a joy in getting back on the wagon. Otherwise, you just give up too easily. And the transformations are three that we're talking about. One is the humbling of yourself and realizing that you are not independent. You are not independent. I think of anything in the midst of COVID-19, you have come to realize that you are not an independent being, isn't it? Obviously one little virus can destroy, all of your plans and your life. And that is a sure sign that you are not independent. No, your whole world's been turned upside down. If you were so independent, I don't think this would have happened. So, depending on other people's incomes and their jobs and their time and their love and their deliveries and their hospitals, right? And the people that work there, you are far from independent, and everything that you do have that you've been able to get by on has come from others. You didn't make, or you're not responsible for hardly any of this. So clearly we've all been forced to eat a little humble pie, I would say, at the very least, at the mercy, of the kindness of many, many others, truly, and in many places, I saw some people, and I like to have some fun with them. They're well armed, they think of themselves as some sort of pandemic Rambo. They have lots of guns and they're ready for Armageddon. And you're probably, all of you people who are living and watching from your militia compound or your bunker, somewhere in Colorado or somewhere deep in the mountains, you must feel awfully silly right now. You have all these guns and everything, and not one of them has been of any use. You're sitting there well armed, and at the end of the day, what's really getting you by aren't your guns, are they? It's just the kindness of others is what's sustaining you. Yeah, not even your own wit. It's the kindness of the UPS driver, the kindness of Instacart. You are far from this independent being that you have imagined, and you're very funny. So you sit there and you think about that with your what is your baseball cap on backwards, and you have a big AR-15. Yeah, good luck. Good luck. What you really need is to recognize, just as you would in spirituality, that you are the recipient of kindness. And that's what's got you this far. Believe it or not, you didn't do this on your own. As Obama famously stated, and people didn't like it at all. He says, you didn't do this on your own. Many Americans didn't like that one. Well, he was right. Not because he's a Democrat, because he recognized that you are interdependent. You don't exist independently. None of us do. So if you want to propel yourself further, you think about that. You're like, basically all the decent things in your life came from the goodness of others. If you even had your own wit to make your own business or whatever, even those gifts were handed to you. But now we're in the realm of spirituality, and if you want to progress, you recognize that on your own, it's not going to go well. Just like, trying to start a business without customers, or without a mentor, it's probably not going to go well. So doesn't mean you need to always have a mentor, but I think for a while it'll probably do you some good, probably a good 20, 30 years. Oh boy. So why don't you think about what you would like to receive? Not just from the world around you, but your teachers, your community. What would you most like to receive? And maybe you can put, Americans, listen, maybe I know it sounds crazy. Maybe you can put down your guns and think about, you actually are dependent upon others. The highest things that you would most love to receive besides ammunition. Yeah. You might, but really, you must be very disappointed. All these guns, and you didn't even get a chance to use them. Now we're all going back to work, apparently, and killing each other, interdependently, of course. Yeah. What would you most love to receive? Maybe more teachings on love, compassion, more meditation experience, more teachings on emptiness, maybe less teachings from your news channel. Oh boy. What would you most love to receive? Kindness? Maybe more understanding? What would you most love to receive? I suggest a top 10 list for each of these categories. Yeah. You don't have to fill it out now, but I think I'd be filling it out, because if you can't fill out what you most love to receive, you may be living, the point of this is you may be living in a particular delusion that you are somehow independent. That you are somehow independent. That's not true. You are not independent. You know? Some of you say, "Oh, I'm independent. I save my money. I put it all in the stock market." You know, stock market is a perfectly good sign that you are far from independent. You know, you're at the mercy of computer machines and investment bankers and brokers and news cycles and, you know, potentially, and I'm not going to say it out loud, but potentially, I'm not going to say it out loud, but potentially a president who creates news cycles, you know, on a whim. You know, and your investments are all over the place, all up and down, you know, based on the musings of a madman. You know, hopefully you invested in bleach, you know, the bleach company stock, you know, Clorox. Yeah, I'm sure he did. Bleach. Wow. Oh, do you think you're independent? Really? Yeah. You think you're independent? Not really, right? Okay, so what would you most love to receive? And then do yourself a favor in your meditation. Ask for it. And imagine and visualize yourself. You know, normally I'm not a big fan of having your hands up, you know, but maybe in this part of the meditation, maybe you do. You just put your hands up and just, you know, and then imagine it. You know, you got to get over this idea that you're some sort of a lone wolf, you know. You know, if you're, you know, I know some of you are in Asia watching right now. You don't even think like this, but this is mostly for, and not even in Europe do they think like this, but this is mostly an American disease. You know, they think of themselves as like really these independent beings, which is completely bizarre and not true. I mean, they can't even take one breath. I mean, Americans, go ahead and try. Take one breath. That's, you know, that's not dependent upon others. I mean, literally, you know, every breath you take, you know, dependent on a tree or a plant. I know it sounds crazy to you Americans. You all think you're independent. You pulled yourself up by your bootstraps. You know. Yeah, crazy. The roads you drive on, the mail that you receive, the air, the water, you are not independent. You did not make it on your own. You know, you're just being obstinate and crazy. You know, literally no foundation to stand on whatsoever to make this claim that you're independent. Even your gun is made by someone else. You know, the craziest of all. And of course, it's very lonely and depressing, you know, to think like this, you know. And then, you know, when it comes to the spiritual journey, when it comes to realization, I mean, what are you going to do? Go on Amazon, you know, and order your, you know, whatever book title, you know, looks appealing to you, and then, you know, you try to figure out on your own what the, you know, highest practices are, and then order a book by so and so, you know, Rinpoche or, you know, Lama or, you know, whatever, you know, and like you can somehow piece it together through reading. I had someone tell me, a few people actually tell me this week, like, is it really important to have a teacher? I'm like, no, you're totally independent. Go get yourself a gun and a Buddhist book and good luck. You don't know what you're doing, admit it. You are literally, you need guidance. You know, we all do. You know, it's like going to college and there's no professors there, you know. Yeah, it's crazy talk. Only Americans could come up with this. Do I need a teacher? You know, who else comes up with this nonsense? You know, I had pulled myself up by my own spiritual bootstraps. I mean, what would that look like? You know, clearly Canadian. Yeah, it was just nuts. Okay, so you know what you need? Probably not, but at least get a good list going, top 10 list. Things that you would love to receive. And then you visualize, imagine receiving them, what it would look like. If you had that stuff, how different would your life be if you actually received those things? Hmm. Can you please, by the end of this meditation, by the end of the week, let's make it your goal, by Friday, that you realize I'm not independent, I'm totally interdependent. Everything around me is highly suggestive of interdependence, right? Food, water, clothing, shelter, air, and throw in there spiritual development. You on your own trying to get this, we have a term for it historically called solitary realizer or pratyeka Buddha. I hate even bringing it up because almost every American I know, when I say you don't need a teacher, is a thing called the solitary Buddha that comes around once every eon, once every kalpa. Most Americans go like this, that's me. I must be that one. There's nothing worse, I tell you, than walking on a spiritual path for 20, 30 years. And now they're just old, and they have no idea, where they're headed. They just keep on collecting more and more and more instructions and a little bit of this Native American, appropriating everywhere they go. Little bit of mindfulness, little bit of Sufism, little bit of Judaism, just trying to figure it out, piecemeal it together, and coming up with their own egotistical tradition, Michaelism or whatever, no idea about stages of the path, that there is actually a way to develop, and you do need help, and it's not wrong to ask for it. There's plenty of people out there, who would really like to assist, but you have to make yourself independent. You have to stop making yourself independent and make yourself what you really are anyway. Open up to what you really are, which is interdependent. Interdependent, yeah. And just face it. Just accept it, and stop with this nonsense. So that's the first part of the meditation. And the second thing is, and I know this is going to sound crazy to a lot of people on the spiritual path, but you actually have to transform. That's number 2. You actually have to do stuff. And it's not going to be easy. You have anger and anxiety and guilt and depression, jealousy and competition and unchecked ambition, and a lot of addictive behaviors. You're not going to achieve your highest wish, your highest aspiration with all this shit going on. That's just true. It's going to require work, and you have to, and even though it's going to be hard, you have to enjoy the process. Otherwise, if you don't have joy in that process of maturation and inner transformation, how are you going to stick with anything? You have to enjoy, growing up. And growing up isn't just for kids here. It's for this is supposedly for temper tantrums at your age. Is it really that you're an adult? In what way? This is the childlike behavior. This anger at age 50. Obviously you're not growing out of it. It's not like time will mature you. That's not true. That's not true at all. You can be 75 years old and, total jerk. Yeah, that's easy. Right? Anyone can be a jerk. It doesn't require a lot of skill. It just requires practice. So here's the thing. You've got to know what you'd love to mature. And so one of the things I would suggest to you is just putting down a simple list of the major, we call nyomo in Tibetan, mental toxins, or say in Sanskrit, klesha, afflictions of the mind. Like anger, desire, anxiety, guilt. These are the things, they're going to stop you from your realization, laziness, especially lelo, we call, really going to stop you. From making any progress. You can have all the wishes that you want about and read all the books, Power of Now, and you can read that one, and you can read, Now Be Here Now, you can read them back to back. And but if you don't make some, some changes, some inner transformation and really work hard at it, and of course asking for help again with those things, what are you going to do, We have people that they want to come to retreat, and they're trying to kick an alcohol habit or a drug habit. What you going to do? You're going to show up in these things, and you're going to lose it, man. you know? When we get down to the nitty-gritty, to the hard work of sitting still and facing ourselves, you're going to be like, you're not going to do well. You got some things to face, truly. And if you don't have anything to face, you don't need to be watching any more of this class. This is all for people who not only have things to face, but admit that they have things to face. How are you going to achieve your highest aspirations and path and purpose in this life if you won't transform? So just do a short list. We'll do top 10 this week by Friday, we'll call it. But right now, let's just do 3. You better have at least 3 things you can write down that need some transformation, maturation. Go. Take a minute. If you're sitting here blank, I mean, that's just unfortunate. You're living in la-la land. Do you know what you need to change? Little tweak here and there. If you can't, and you got your spiritual hat on, you're living in la-la land, I just love everything. Why don't you just stop that nonsense and be sincere? Yeah. Can't get anywhere when you act like you're, all is one. If it's, that's nice. Anyway, get to work. Yeah. We're all one. Okay, fine, we're all one. Now get to work. What's your anger like? What's your anxiety like? Your depression? We're all one. Great. Leave that shit outside somewhere. This is serious work. Okay, you got 3 things? So what would you like to receive, and then what would you like to transform? Now imagine, as part of the meditation, that you actually transformed. Imagine it like not some other time, like right now, like what would it look like, your life, without those things? You matured and you transformed and you received all that you need and you transformed. Imagine, just close your eyes for a second. To achieve your highest path and purpose, you transformed those things, all of them. What's that like? What's that look like in your mind's eye? What's it feel like in your body? To have given up, you're like, no anger, anxiety, and get rid of that negative ninny in your voice. Oh, it's not possible. That's the thing that needs to be transformed right there. You're a negative ninny. Right there. That naysayer of the mind, the doubter, the critic, the judge. One's always speaking so badly about themselves. Maybe that's what you have to work on. Okay. And then the last thing, for awakening, your highest path and purpose, obviously you need to receive, because you are interdependent. You need to transform. But when it comes to enlightenment, it all comes down to, at the end of the day, how are you going to give back? What would you most love to offer? If you had you'd received all that you needed, and you had transformed all that you were going to transform, at that point, and to share, instead of being the mentoree, you become the mentor. What would you share? Would you share teachings? It doesn't have to be something really high either. It could be just everywhere I go with every step, I'm just going to be peaceful. I'm going to offer peace to the world, love to the world, compassion, be generous. Most of you know me, everywhere I go, I love to find some way to leave someone with a little bit more. Some teaching, some money, some time, some laughter. That takes work. You have to want it. It's easy. There are plenty of times where I would like not to do those things. That voice comes in and says, this person's never, sometimes the voice comes in my head, maybe this person doesn't have Buddha nature. Maybe this one's a lost cause, That's a breaking of the Bodhisattva vow, we never give up, Sometimes we take a little break, that's for sure. Sometimes better not to engage, back and forth like a ping pong match. Maybe sometimes take a 10-year break, sometimes even we say next life, we'll see you on the dark side or the other side, but we never like ultimately give up on anyone, So what you want to give back? You imagine yourself on your deathbed. You've lived this life. You've done all the transformation. You received all that you need, and now you're on your deathbed. And you look back, and you were able to give back. What would you have given? What can you see yourself? Look, come on, another little top 10 list by Friday. Let's do a couple now. Maybe you'd be, the greatest mother. I don't know. It can be just that simple. It doesn't have to be anything grand. You don't have to be like the Mother Teresa of Buddhism or something. Maybe it could just be something simple. Just be kind to everyone I meet. That's what I will give back. Someone told me I'll be less of an ass. Okay, well, start there. And maybe we can develop, a little bit of a seed that we can nurture. Less of an ass is okay. Okay, and then you visualize that also. You visualize that you're on your deathbed and you can look back and that you really did do those things. Imagine, go and close your eyes. You did it, and now you're ready to let go. It was an incredible life. You did you came in and you were, played you were given a hand and you played them, to the best of your ability. Sometimes maybe not to the best, right? But you played the hand you were dealt. And then somewhere along the way, you met a teacher or teachers, right? Someone who took you on. Wasn't easy. They're usually not easy people. A lot of trust issues. But it happens. And you received, and you grew, and you transformed. And you gave back. What did you give back? And you're happy now. You can let go. Like, this was a really good life. Through the ups and downs, through thick and thin. I mean, now you can even add this to your belt, the notch in your belt, right? Live through pandemic. That's amazing, right? Live through the plague. Or suffered through it. Some of my loved ones, they're sick now, and maybe you got to live through hardship, and you still gave back. You didn't give up. You could have sunk. Sink or swim time when it comes to grief, right? But you didn't bite the grief hook. You used it and you transformed the grief like a true spiritual practitioner. You transform the grief, right, into the power of spirit, the spiritual journey. All right. So write down. What did you do? What did you give back? What would you most love to give back? Come on. 3 things. My ducks. Okay. So you got some things? All right. So here we are in chapter 7 of the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. And this is the last few weeks we've been dealing or working on patience, zoba, not getting angry or not getting frustrated. And now this joyful effort, sundru in Tibetan. Please say sundru.
Sundru.
Sundru, like Tsundru, transliterated. Sundru Kiparchen in Tibetan. Sundru Kiparchen, which is like the perfection of joyful effort, the perfection of effort, actually. Yeah. Shandru Kiparch. And as Shantideva says in the text, he says, Lungme Yoame, Lungme Yoame. You know, in the monastery, we have to memorize all of this, you know, every word of this book, or at least we're supposed to. I thought it was the most impressive thing, so I did it. So in these words, Shandru Kiparch, Lungme Yoame. A wind, me is one of the 4 negative particles in Tibetan. So lume yoa me, a wind that doesn't flicker, a wind that doesn't flicker. You know, so the wind here is referring to the effort, you know, and it does not flicker. We just do a sustained effort, and just keep going no matter what. We keep going. So sometimes people ask me like, how do you stay with this? You've been doing this for more than, you know, most of your adult life. It's true, you know, decades. You know, which is, you know, I can tell you, not very long. But people do ask, like, how do you keep doing it? You know, and you know all of these things, and I can tell you, I'm not very clever, actually, not very smart. But I do have this one. I always say I have Sundru. You know, I keep going, I keep trying, and you know, when I fall, and I fall a lot, you know, I get up and I look and I try again. You know, as the old Japanese Zen expression, you know, fall down 6, get up 7. And so here we are. You know, that's what I have. I have this effort. You know, sometimes I think in English, resilience, you know, resiliency. And you have to define this resiliency within and keep going. So, like a wind that doesn't flicker. Sundru Kiparchen, Lume Yoame. And then, you know, we're collecting here along the way by doing this. We're collecting, you know, collecting merit. We call good deeds, you know, sonam kiso. That's what we're doing here, collecting good deeds. And we're doing it under the influence of, like, we know, we have an understanding of realization, enlightenment. We know what we're doing, and we're, you know, very vigilant, you know, very focused on this. And vigilance is an excellent term, you know, and watchfulness, vigilance, not just in meditation, but also in post-meditation, you know, and, you know, you fall, you fail, I do all the time, and you come back and you try again. That's all. So this is the perfection of joyful effort. And this is the 4th of the 6 perfections in Mahayana Buddhism. And, you know, without wind, you know, without joyful effort, nothing flickers, we can say. Nothing flickers. It means that without the perfection of effort, that you can't really keep any type of virtuous or meritorious action. So that's what we're doing. Effort is the central position, you can say, of the perfections. Of the 6 perfections, this one is the central position. You know, it's a catalyst for the other perfections. You have to enjoy the process, even if what you're seeing, and I've never known anyone who goes to look inside, you know, and to go the journey, and they like what they see when they start. You know, I've never had anyone do any kind of introspection and go, you know what, I'm looking inside, and everything's great. You know, it's always like, oh boy, you know, I'm you know, the Pandora's box in many ways. When you start this journey, the Pandora's box is open. You know, and if you really want to sit, I mean, if you really want to see, you just sit still for half an hour, and you know, you see your mind is, you know, filled in the beginning and in the middle. You know, filled with all types of discursive thoughts and emotions and dramas, and it's like they just keep coming and they keep coming, and then you feel like you have a reprieve and there's some space, and then you get another wave and another wave. And at a certain point, you realize it's just nothing but waves coming, and you enjoy. You know, it's just like being at the ocean, and instead of fighting, you know, each of the waves that's hitting you, you know, you learn how to body surf. I think, and you know, I'm not saying that you don't get salt water in your eye, you don't get sunburned. I mean, it's going to be painful, but there's some joy in all of this as well. Okay, you learn how to swim, and then if you go past the initial surf, believe it or not, it gets very, very calm out there. So that's what this is. That's what this is like. So go through it, and even though it's going to be difficult, the collection of merit. Collection of merit is caused by practicing the other perfections like generosity, you know, ethical conduct, being patient. So that's the collection of merit. It leads you into having a body that's totally transformed. If you want to know what the ultimate result is, it's a body that's totally transformed into light. So That's what will happen. And even if others don't see it, you see it. You look down, and I promise you look down, and nothing but light. Others also who have that karma is gone, and they see purely, they see light also. And then other people may just see a regular person. They may, if you do all these practices, you don't wake up in bed next to a husband and a wife anymore. You wake up to a being made of light, like we call it Daka, Dakini, awakened one. And everyone else may just see a cranky old husband. Very quite possible they have that kind of karma. But if you do these practices the way that I'm teaching you, you will wake up one day and you'll look over, and your wife, they won't be your wife or husband. You'll be laying there next to a Buddha, not because they did anything, but because you did this, because you did what we're working on. And so that's what happens here. And of course, everyone is made of light, and that's not just conjecture, that's not just metaphor. I'm being actually quite serious. Albert Einstein, he says everything, there is no matter actually, no matter. It's just vibrations slowed down. It looks like matter. And so I think in many ways in Buddhist practice is, Dharma practice I should say, is a way of making the matter a little more light matter. Yeah, light matter, something like that. So that's what will happen one day. But if you keep on doing all of the things, thinking that you're independent and not transforming, not giving back, then you just see a regular old body, and then you die a regular old death, and all of it's very unnecessary. It's not even true. And so by doing this, by building, we call it collection of merit, Sonam Kiso. This is the result of that Buddha's light body. And then the collection of wisdom, which is caused by practicing the fifth and sixth perfections, meditation and wisdom on we say wisdom's meditation on emptiness of self and other. Then that leads you to the enlightenment of a Buddha's mind. You'll have not just a Buddha's body made of light, but the enlightenment of a mind, which is all-knowing. We say all-knowing, kunken. And that's what happens if you do these practices. When we say all-knowing, what we really mean by that is how to bring others to enlightenment, how to help them to stop suffering. Not that they'll do it, that's a different thing. Most of them won't do it, but at least you ought to know how to, and that becomes the pivotal point of your life. Like, you don't think about making money and material things. You have a bigger, let's just say a little bit of a different view and a bigger picture, beyond immediate gratification. Okay, so and the perfection of effort is absolutely necessary to accomplish the perfection of generosity and conduct and joyful effort and of patience and meditation and wisdom. So it is you could say the catalyst for the other perfections. All right. I want to say that there's an alternative here. It's not good. It doesn't lead to anything, but I see, over the years, people doing, which is this, we'll call it not joyful effort, but we'll call it morose effort. I mean, I have all too often seen this look. I never saw it. I lived for years in refugee camps, in Tibetan refugee camps. I lived in Thailand, in Burma, in Nepal, and these people they don't have any money. They don't have much resources, but man, they're happy and they're smiling. And when they practice Dharma, I mean, they sit there in meditation and they're having fun. I never had so much fun, living like this. Just real carefree, easygoing, and we really had a good time practicing spirituality, and living very, very, simply. I mean, obviously, living in a meditation center or a retreat center, monastery, gompa we call, is a very, very simple life, and but very happy life, and then I come back to America, my teacher said, go back to the US and teach, and I did, and he said, go back a second time. His Holiness said, go back, and so I did. And then all the Western people has a meditation face. The meditation face is so different than my Tibetan friends. So I'm going to hold on, to collect myself here to do this. Okay, I call Western poopy face when they meditate. I mean, and then a whole room full of them. You know, it's no fun, teaching to a room full of Western people. I mean, it's like I'm sitting there in front of a room, and then there's like 100 people like this. They all look like they're like we say anally retentive, shall we say? So when you meditate, if you would just do yourself a favor, and turn your lips up a little bit, even though it's hard, everyone, even though sometimes it's hard and your mind is filled with all kinds of wacky thoughts and crazy emotions, and your body's a little bit uptight, and you have that little, that little itch right there. Don't itch it. There's a joy in not itching. Believe me, there's a joy in this. You want to just do it, or you want to, especially Western people, I don't understand this one, you want to do it really fast. Like if you do it fast, it doesn't count. You see how much fun I'm having? That's what it's like, There's an itch on the end of your nose. Let's practice. Come on, everyone. Sit up. There's a little itch. Imagine there's a little itch on the end of your nose. Don't scratch it. And don't scream at yourself not to. Just like, a little bit of a talk, a little bit, come on. Don't scratch. Don't scratch. This can be fun, And then you get to see something. Here comes the wisdom part. Like all of a sudden it just disappears, And your mind in the meantime has made up stories like, if you don't itch it, what's going to happen? Your mind is like goes, I better get it, because everyone knows what happens if you don't scratch an itch. It's going to get worse, and it's going to get worse, and maybe it'll fall off. Maybe I'll lose my whole nose. I mean, your mind can come up with, really pretty much anything. And it's a joy, to watch your mind come up with these crazy stories. This is, maybe it's a tumor, who knows, what you can come up with, but boy, you can come up with a lot, yesterday, for example, I had diarrhea, diarrhea is one of the symptoms of, what is this, COVID-19, Now, I've been sitting here in isolation, with my wife and my dog, and we don't really have any contact with the outside world except on the internet right now. And so I got a little diarrhea, right? So I'm sitting there and, on the pot, and, and I text, one of my relatives, and I say, oh, I have, they say, how you doing? I have diarrhea, and the symptom of COVID-19, you probably have it, you're probably going down, and they start texting me one news clip after the next about, about all the symptoms, Mayo Clinic and everything. And, I woke up this morning and I, no diarrhea. So, I must have beat everything in just a few hours. It could just be, a little bit of loose stool, right? So not really, and so there's a joy in watching how crazy, your mind can be, and how is even a joy in how crazy other people's minds can be. There's a joy in that too. I get to that particular one. I can tell you is really a big joy of mine. Watching them, people say all kinds of crazy things to me. Like someone asked me today if they think, and which I can't understand anyone asking me this. Do you think I'm enlightened or no? They said realize. So I said, sure, why not? Yeah, anyway, go back to meditating. Hopefully you're watching right now, and you're still wondering, am I enlightened? Who knows? Anyway, who cares? Keep sitting. Do yourself, even if you are enlightened, just keep sitting, okay? It's okay. It's just fine. You have all kinds of experiences. Sometimes in one day you can think you're basically enlightened, and then wonder by the end of the day if you were just a total shithead. I mean, in one day. I mean, don't pay attention to any of this stuff. Just keep going. Just keep sitting and paying attention. That's all. Don't get so worked up. There's joy in all of this. Okay. Sometimes you are a magic fairy. You have all kinds of ideas about the. Oh my God. You know, I think I'm going to drink some bleach. You know, I mean, obviously, it would be better if some people learned how to watch their mind and their mouth and not just say everything that comes to mind, you know. No names, but wouldn't it be nice if some people just learned how not to say, let's try bleach today or something? You know, and you can do it too. Not only can the president do, you can do, right? You know, there's learn to watch and like think of all the crazy things that you would say, and then you don't do it. You know, the joy of restraint. Even though you are free to say whatever crazy thing comes to mind, you know, you don't have to go presidential, right? You don't have to be completely insane. So you can just learn how to watch thoughts and, you know, watch speech and not do anything, you know, and there's a joy in that. Even though you want to so badly, you know, blurt out some craziness, you know, you don't have to. And there's a joy in not doing it. So the joy of restraint, please. The joy, there's an effort there, you know, like maybe today I'm not going to just blurt out whatever comes to mind, or, you know, you don't have to feel compelled to write, you know, to me and tell me that you're enlightened. It's okay. I'll be okay without knowing that, you know, and so will you. All right. Sung gange la tro. The joy not just in not doing, but the joy in doing good deeds. You know, being happy and doing good deeds. You know, and it doesn't mean that you have to try really hard or you have to meet a whole bunch of obligations. It just means that you delight in doing good things. You know, like going online. You know, like I know a young woman who's going to college and she's having, of course, just like every college student or most college students, she's really struggling right now. And she said she was so happy. You know, she messaged me yesterday and she said she got a $500 grant. You know, she's going to UCLA. You know, what does that mean? $500 to go to UCLA? And I'm thinking, that's probably, and I thought maybe she meant $500 a month is her grant. And so I asked her and she said, no, just $500. So, you know, it took me like a quarter of a second, you know, to look at my bank account and then, you know, send her, you know, for her, match that, you know, match that grant and then send her another, you know, and even though $1,000 probably doesn't go a long way at UCLA, I just thought, you know, we have to do something, you know, to try to help this person. And then there's a lot of things like that in terms of food and organizations that you can give to, and don't sit there and banter it about, you know, really like, you know, good organizations, you know. Some people give to us, you know, they think we're a good organization and we're very grateful for all of that. And I think the same way about other organizations. I give to other Dharma groups, you know, I mean, you know, whatever I can to give. And when people say nasty things to me, you know, I take joy in being patient, and hopefully you do as well. So joy in doing good things and doing good deeds, and not just doing them, you know, not just reluctantly or with an idea of tolerance, but enthusiastic generosity. You know, I was so excited. I told the lady, I said, I'm going to send you, you know, some money. I'm going to $500. I'm going to match your grant. And I was so excited. I mean, I was like about to pee myself. I was so happy to send her some money. You know, I was really I imagined, you know, her receiving it, and I imagined her, what she would do with it, how it would go to her school, and it would make her feel a little bit less anxious about everything. And, you know, that felt great. I was just delirious, you know, in being able to share, you know, how others give to me, and then I take the money that you guys give to me and I give it to someone else, and that makes me, you know, that's a wonderful feeling. And also the emptiness of that, the wisdom part is knowing that it's not my money, you know, that I'm giving. You know, it's not hers. It's just we're just spreading it out, spreading the generosity and spreading the love. And it doesn't me giving to her. She's not the recipient. I don't even feel like I'm the giver, you know, like that. So you become like we call a virtueholic, you know, a virtueholic. You just love doing good things. And I have to say that because, you know, there were times in my life where I was doing a lot of bad things, you know, alcohol and drugs, and not too long ago even, really, you know, and like an aholic, you know, and now, you know, I like doing these things at the exact same pace that I used to like doing bad things, you know, like an alcoholic. You know, now you become a virtueholic. And you see that your practice is a great honor, you know, an opportunity and a privilege to be service to yourself and to others and to this world. And it's a great privilege to be able to practice patience and generosity and to try to live by your path and purpose and your higher aspiration. Okay? So, now historically, and you'll see in the 7th chapter of the Bodhicharya Avatar, this guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life, you'll see, what are the things that really stop you from doing it, from being a virtueholic and from transforming. And the first, please repeat after me. In Tibetan, we say Lelo, Lelo, like L-E-L-O. I don't know why every Western person I ever teach this to, they remember it, Lelo. Lilo, it means laziness, spiritually lazy. It's basically you're like attracted to just laying around, like you're some sort of couch potato, wasting time and just doing like nothing of value at all. On your retreat time, we'll call it, your quarantine time, what did you do? You just sat there and you changed channels, or, I don't know what you did, couch potato, right? And you gained a lot of weight, or maybe you decided to become an alcoholic, during this time, and sit around, smoke a lot of weed. And I think some of you really did, unfortunately. You really got the wrong message, You didn't have to even be a quarantine. It could have been a spiritual retreat. And maybe you could still be that. Maybe it's not too late to turn it around. So I think taking a little bit of a healthy rest, I like to take after doing some virtuous things. If you're doing, strenuous things, teaching, like we have 30-day meditation retreat coming up, and I'll be teaching every day, day and night for 30 days, and I love it, but I also need a break afterward. And I think taking a little bit of break from all of that so you can recharge your batteries, there's nothing wrong with that, But you should see it all. This is a fantastic privilege, the ability to share and to be kind, and then taking care of yourself so you can be kind some more. That's the idea, okay? And then the second thing that'll hold you back, Janin La Shamba. Janin La Shamba. Just being attracted to bad deeds. You're just being attracted to wrong deeds, unwholesome things, reading the negative news over and over. Or if a pandemic comes, like I have some friends, I try to talk to them. They send me some articles, some things about how they're making money off of all this, and not because they're trying to help people, like they're like very proud that they, were able to figure out how to get some masks and then really, not as a livelihood for themselves, but really like how to really, overcharge. What do you say? I don't know what the right word is. Huh?
Price gorge.
Yeah, gorge or gouge, gouging other people for this. And then, many people say, oh, we're not going to be stupid like we were in 2008. We're going to bet against the market. And we're going to, bet the downside of this. And, we're going to bet on this going up, Amazon and Netflix. And, they're not thinking like, how can I make money and then turn it around and, and help other people. They're really in this pandemic for themselves. I find the whole thing just incredibly shameful. You're here for a short period of time, and this is the best you got as a human being. How are you going to profit from a pandemic and from other people's misery? This is what I mean. This is Janin Leshimba. Being attracted to negativity. Reading the paper every day to figure out how you're going to, make some money from all this shit. You really. Not many times I feel that people ought to be ashamed of themselves, but I think this is one of those times. And to not have shame is a sign of sociopathology. You need help, You want to make some money from this? Please take that money, anything that you have made, and dedicate it to the welfare of others. That's my 2 cents. You don't want to die on your deathbed and look back and you're so proud of yourself for making money from a pandemic, from other people's death and misery. It really is shameful. You don't have to be a genius to figure this stuff out. This will destroy your spiritual practice, these things. Being totally wasting time, causing yourself anxiety, reading the same negative news stories, trying to figure out how you can profit from all of this, insulting others. Really, they need to go out and make a living because if they don't, they'll starve. I mean, why don't you just Come on. Pull back and realize, if you were to die, sometime in the next year, you had to look back at your life, would you be proud of yourself? What did you do during this time? Yeah, you want to live a life you can be proud of. And then, so we have two, laziness and then being attracted to negative things, or I think some of you may also, be so, not housebroken, cabin fever. You have so much you just can't wait to get out, and go to the beach or something. For what? Think it through, What are you going to get from this? All these people around and you're just hurting yourself and hurting other people. What are you getting? You're just spreading death to yourself and others. Also, you can get some fresh air. Why don't you just, come on, you're in the middle of a pandemic. Why don't you take it easy? Why don't you take it easy? Be healthy. And in so doing, care about other people too. Yeah. It's not hard not to be attracted to negative things, but you have to sometimes put up a good fight. And when you win, smile. Turn your lips up. There's a joy in this effort. And then giluk, discouragement. Giluk. Not geluk, that's ge is virtue, gewa. This is gi, G-Y-I. Giluk. This is discouragement, like low self-esteem, like thinking that you can't even do anything good. You can't do even small good deeds, or at least consistently. But that's actually what you have to do. You start off with small good deeds and you just do them consistently and you build up your confidence like this. You make it habitual just to start off with good thoughts like gratitude every day. I highly recommend that you think about things that you're grateful for. They're about path and purpose too. I'm grateful for, being smart and real estate. That's not it. Grateful that you have an opportunity to give. Grateful you have an opportunity to be patient today. This is gratitude. Yeah. Grateful to practice withdrawing from arguing. This is the kind of gratitudes we're seeking. Yeah. I could have gotten mad today, but I didn't. I'm grateful for the teachings in the community on patience. That people help to support me. The human mind, in other words, is very trainable, is what we're getting at. The human mind is very trainable. With consistent practice, you also can take joy in your growth, in your development, in your maturation. So those are the three things that stop effort. And let's talk about their causes, and then we'll call it a night. Let's talk about the causes of all of this. Nyomle is the attraction, the enjoyment of indulging in sense faculty pleasures, worldly pleasures, we say. It subtly destroys your actual joy. If you just keep going for immediate gratification, sense faculty pleasure, like everything you see that you love and that you taste, it will, over time, erode your ability to experience the joy of contentment. Over time. And I think some of you really have to work on this because it's very clear, the joy of contentment when you go to meditate, you're so accustomed to going for sense faculty joys that when you go to meditate, you go to sit still, there's no enjoyment, there's no sense faculty joy. That's the meditation ultimately is, you'll discover the contentment of just being and not doing, not becoming anything at all. And so you have to be really careful about being attracted to like the television set. Not that it's harmful in any particular way, it's just that these kind of things steal your enthusiasm for contentment. I think that's the best way to say. They steal your enthusiasm for contentment, or they steal your enthusiasm for being without doing. And truly, only contentment is the only thing actually you'll see, is the only thing that's actually joyful in your life. And the very funny thing is about sense faculty pleasures and immediate gratifications. Do you know what you're actually trying to get? You're trying to get to contentment. You think that if I could just get that thing, and then you get it, and you feel contented for I think the science is about 10 to 12 seconds. That's about it. And so then you go for more of that, and more for that. So that shows you that you're not content. And so you really have to make an effort, and it's a joy in not doing those things, not going for sense faculty joys and immediate gratification. That's the greater joy, and it takes effort. And there can be a joy in turning away from these things, even though it may be difficult. So then Nila Tempe Sepa, being addicted to lazing around, overeating, oversleeping, overeating the wrong kinds of food, these types of things. Addicted to 3 causes of laziness. The first one, the enjoyment of indulgement, and then the second one, the sepa, is addicted to being lazy. Overeating, oversleeping, overindulging yourself in the wrong types of food. Sugar foods, fatty foods. Things that will make you less attentive, make you only, all these foods with preservatives that just make you just want to eat more and more and more. I noticed like with Doritos, what is that? There's some sort of salty thing, that they added some, what they call flavoroid to it. And you can't just have one. You eat one and you put it down and you're like, you just feel like almost like a compulsion, for another one and another one and another one. So this is the kind of thing you just sort of on the, and then when you don't do it, you take joy in I think you recognize the quality of addiction and you put it down, that quality of compulsion, and you put it down and you turn your lips up and be like, nope. And then you take the rest of the bag and then, then you don't eat anymore, get rid of it. The third type of thing that contributes to laziness in practice is korwe dukna. Korwe dukna. Lami kyoa. Korwe dukna lame kyorwa. It means not getting fed up. You're not getting fed up with samsara. This will destroy your effort, that you just keep finding ways to make samsara better. That's what this means. Cyclic existence, you just can't wait, in the pandemic, and you can't wait, even though you weren't happy before, just getting up 9 to 5, whatever it was, and just doing the same things, and not having really any great time with your life, and only, getting 2 weeks off, and then now it's like, you can't wait to get back to it. Really, you're not sick of existence. Maybe, you didn't learn that, that's very possible to be simple and to be contented. And maybe for many of you, this was the lesson, that you can turn away and not go back to that kind of life. Go to a smaller place that doesn't cost as much. Maybe move out of the city, into the countryside, and live in the mountain, live in the wildwoods, as we say, live in the mountains and the valleys, and maybe that's a better thing for your mind and your pocketbook. Maybe you don't need so much. And maybe you don't need an education that supports that either, that kind of samsara, that kind of cyclic existence. Maybe it's okay to come home into your inner being, into contentment, and stay away from these things. I live now in the mountains in Southern California, away from everyone, and it doesn't cost much. We stare out at the lake, and we go for a walk in the mountains and the valleys. Try to take the dog with us sometimes, and very simple life, and just appreciate, everything, from the squirrels to the eagle that we see every day on our walk, and the deer that live by near our house. It's a very easy life. And I used to be investment banking in Manhattan, and it's the opposite of all of that. Going and going and going, and so enamored with all the lights and all the activities and the Broadway and all of that. It was all very nice, but this is much better. It's not that I can't appreciate that, or those things are bad or negative, but I couldn't stop. I could never enjoy being contented. So most people live their lives, like this, just doing and doing and becoming, and as Shantideva is basically getting at, most people live like stupid cows, just peacefully being led to the end of their life, led to the slaughter, moving closer and closer to death, never really content, without doing anything that really prevents their impending doom and their suffering. So you can get cut off from all of this simply by getting sick and dying at any time. So don't wait, please, until it's too late to do something about this. At this point of death, you'll be terrified. That's what's in this reading. So please read through chapter 7 this week of the Bodhisattva's way of life. Your mind will collapse and you'll begin to hallucinate, and you're losing control. You're on your deathbed. And now it's far too late to do anything really meaningful and deep meditation as you try to save yourself. Yeah, and none of this is necessary. None of this. So what Shantideva talks about in this chapter, he talks about what happens, at that point of death, if you haven't lived a virtuous life and you haven't, or at least tried to change it and transform it in the ways that we've mentioned today. He says, you'll be tormented by memories of the bad things that you've done. As you get older and as you die, all the misdeeds that will remember you will torture you. And we say ronde drumba. And then the second, nyowa, ratuba. Then you begin to experience, you begin to hallucinate, and you hear, sound like voices from other realms, very negative voices, like we say hell realms and things like that, angry voices. And then the third thing, suma, trakpe me samnugu, that you begin to feel like, it literally translates like shit is being smeared across your face, like that, just like blackness. And you hear the terrible sounds, people tearing each other apart. It's just all these very negative hallucinations. So that's the backdrop of your impending death. And none of this has to happen, so you make efforts now, these good deeds, gela drubo, dewa topa, you do anything to get this happiness, and you stop being unreasonable and you start doing good things that lead to your own contentment and help other people with their joy, and you create the causes to bring those things about. That's what this life is for. And if you start planning for this stuff now, and you start doing these things now, and not putting off and delaying and procrastinating, with the short time that you have left in this life, in this planet, and you stop living like you're going to be, like you're immortal, that you're going to live forever, and your ability to withstand pain and your frustration tolerance goes down, it gets diminished, and you lose your tolerance, for change and ambiguity, and I can only encourage you, to develop contentment as you are. So no matter what happens on the outside, pandemic, no pandemic, that you're content as you are, and so that's mostly the teaching from the 7th chapter. But you'll be reading about this week, and we'll pick up next week. But you have the main practice to do at home this week, and to fill out, start thinking about your top 10 lists, what you would like to receive, visualizing that, what you would like to transform and visualizing that, and what you would most love to give back. So these are the main things for this week. And if you have any questions, if you're on Zoom right now, I'll take some questions and then we'll call it a night. Okay? So questions about 7th chapter, the joyful effort, Sundru chapter, how to practice, what to meditate on. Anyone? No? Okay. All right then. Well, thank you. Is there anything on Facebook? Any questions? Yeah. Anyone has?
No.
Just the usual compliments and death threats? Yeah.
Anne Lawrence said I am quarantined.
Anne Lawrence, quarantined, yeah.
In a 33 RV with a 100-pound dog.
She's in a 33-foot RV she's riding, and with a 100-pound dog?
And a 26-year-old. If I can
and
do it, anyone can. And a 26-year-old.
And if she says if she can do it, anyone can do it. Okay, well, not the worst of the horror stories. Anne Lawrence, thank you for your comment, and you're really trying to help other people develop contentment, and may it be so. May Anne's story of living with a 100-pound dog and a 33-foot trailer with a 26-year-old son, may that inspire all of us, to go further in our practice. And really, thank you, Anne, and for everyone. We're all, people like to say that we're all doing our best, and I don't know that that's true. I think that we can all do better. How about that? And not to feel guilty about that, but I would like you to think of some ways that you can do better, and the ways that we've mentioned this evening. So thank you again for your time and your generosity and your contributions toward our organization. Appreciate it. So thank you all. And by this merit, may all obtain omniscience, and may it defeat the enemy, wrongdoing, from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of samsara, may I free all beings. Mane Padme Hum. Thank you.
Everybody, if I could just make one announcement. As a reminder, there's a one-day retreat this weekend happening. Davida is going to be hosting one on relationships, the conscious relationships in this crisis. So if you haven't registered, please do. We'll send out the information and the Zoom password on Friday. And I know several folks have said they're planning to register, so please go ahead and do that so we can get everything set for this weekend. Thanks, everybody. Be well.
Conscious pandemic relationship. Yeah, you're doing that.
Your butt.
I forgot it was this weekend.
Your butt forgot.
My butt did forget. But your friends also forgot who were in your butt. Hey, guess what? Ready? Look, no.
What?
Yes! It's booby time.
Why did he let them do that? Like he's going crazy looking everywhere.
You don't watch him for 1 minute, he just.
I mean, he wants to boot me, I guess.
Well, why don't we go outside after we take him out all the
Yeah,
time?
that's 2 hours. No problem.
How's it last? Yeah. How's my hair? Look at this. You like it? Really? Handsome? You're handsome she-devil.
535 too.
500 what?
35.
What? That's not very many. You better put that on the clock. Boost that girl.
Well, the thing is that, especially on Tuesdays, all of your students in the world look to do.
Well, it's not that many.
How many one day?
Huh?
How many one day?
I mean, there's still pages I didn't even look for.
Alright, so.
But still, that wouldn't equal 1,000.
No, that's equal to 1,000.
So we'll boost it and it'll be fine.
But, I mean, it's because Facebook is